Hello and welcome to another jungle tutorial. My name is Virkayu, and in this video we're going to look at a few mistakes and things you can improve on in the lower ranked brackets. The reason for this video is that in the past couple of jungle guides I've released that have focused on the mid-season changes, how to play the jungle around that, and planning your routes, planning your ganking paths, analyzing matchups, and so on. Well, I received a few comments stating, well, these things don't work in low elo, list of reasons. And so on that note, I decided to go investigate a little bit. There are quite a few cases that arose in those games where people were taking them very seriously, but yet making these simple mistakes. And so here we are with this video. The first thing I wanted to talk about as a pretense for this entire video was a general lack of awareness of their surroundings. This goes for junglers, laners, everything, by the way. Not just focusing on what you're doing, you have to focus on what everyone on the map is doing. And when you keep your eyes only focused on your situation in your specific area, you're gonna lose track of what the enemy jungler is doing and what plays you can make on that, what summoner spells you can gain advantages from around the map based upon looking around. And to illustrate this is really just completely textbook in terms of not paying attention whatsoever to your surroundings, and this goes for the jungler and the laners. I already have a substantial lead in the enemy jungler, and that's because I killed him 1v1, and I also counter jungled, and I've also farmed efficiently. What I've noticed a lot of junglers do is they don't really farm efficiently. They kind of wait around, they move slowly, they don't really have a directive. You guys need to have an idea of what your plan is when you go into a game. So nevertheless, their positioning is completely out of whack. I kill the enemy mid, and then I head directly to his red buff because I know it's just spawned, and I saw Mumu not walk in that direction. I walk over a ward and kill it and keep going to the red. I do this a little brazenly, but also because I believe truly that no one is watching the minimap or thinking about the red buff spawn. They're not arriving at their buffs on time, they're not warding to defend it, or in this case, they did, they just didn't even look at it. The bot lane doesn't move, and the Mumu is too concerned doing his raptors. I take the red, I see the bot lane moving up, I see a Mumu throws bandage, toss out, and miss it, and just walk away. He doesn't even for a second anticipate I might still be in the area. So I hit the plant and I walk on away. Everyone completely oblivious as to what I just did. And to that end, in this other example, the Graves hasn't timed his blue buff spawn whatsoever. I just saw him on the top lane going back, and so I decided, hey, I'm gonna go take his blue buff, and no one was even considering the fact that I might decide to invade, and this will lead on to my next point in a second. So what happens is I take the Scuttle Crab after I've taken the blue buff, and I saw the Taric ward, so they should technically know I'm there. The mid laner doesn't notice this, so I walk right up and I gank him. We have to chase him down to kill him, even though the gank shouldn't have been possible because he should have known I was in the river, as I did show up on a ward. Now, this is where the attention to surroundings happens again. I'm on the top side of the map next to the enemy's red buff, and I've put a pink ward in the bottom side river. Now the enemy Graves just walks straight next to it, through the vision, doesn't bother checking the bush. If you want to have an awareness of your surroundings, you need to check the bushes when you walk through them. Now, yes, people have complained, yeah, my laners don't rotate, but in those games where they do, like in this situation, I ping and Lulu comes with me. I'm able to interrupt him taking my red buff, but because of the big close down and that my bot lane collapses onto him as well, we burn his flash and we're able to get a kill nonetheless. So yes, your whole general sense of awareness does affect you, the way you play as a jungler, as well as how your laners react to the information. But first and foremost, you have to make sure as the jungler, you are paying attention to your surroundings. And in all these examples, you can see these junglers are not paying attention to their own surroundings and they're putting themselves in these bad situations. Right, how does it translate though to applying continued pressure on the enemy jungler? And in this situation, I'm playing my classical Ornn jungle for fun. What happens is I'm versus a Kha'Zix this a little bit while ago when he was very OP. I notice immediately as I'm coming down to the bottom side that he doesn't have his red buff and that he has just taken the Scuttle Crab. What I do with that information is I walk straight through the tri-bush to follow him, because I have lane priority. Again, I don't need my laners to do anything, but the fact that I'm aware of my own clear route, I'm aware of his clear route, and I'm aware of lane priority means I can make this decision. I put a ward in the tri-bush, do a little cheeky gang, see Kha'Zix come back to the tri-bush, and then walk towards his red. Well, I know where he is now, knows where he's pathing. I ping that I'm on my way, my entire team notices this and decides to rotate with me, because when something is meta, when something is strong, your whole team's gonna focus on it, just like I talked about Kindred in the last video. So my whole team focuses on the Kha'Zix. I'm able to 1v1 him until they show up and we kill him. Very, very easy. The Yasuo had also tried to rotate, but the Akali and the rest of us are able to take him out as well. I stick around, I do his red. He doesn't think to come back to his red. He decides to try and level himself up to level 3 before he does the red buff. Well, I've stuck around. And he hasn't bothered to ward, he hasn't bothered to think, what is the enemy jungler doing? Could the enemy jungler continually apply pressure to me? He's just thinking, I'm Kha'Zix and this is what I have to do. You have to consider the enemy jungler doing things to you as well. He starts doing his Krugs, I wait, and I throw a Cure of the Wall. It's nasty, it's not nice, but this is a continually applying pressure. The Kha'Zix at the time was the #1 jungler. You have to suppress him as best you can. I don't want him to get any near close to being fed. General lack of awareness of surroundings again by Kha'Zix. He decides, well, that sucks, I'm gonna go up and do my raptors. Well, I've already moved on up. I've poached the skirmishing smite out in the field, hooray for Ornn, and even though I mess it up a little bit and he gets the raptor smite off, doesn't matter. That pressure is in his head now. He's gonna have to be thinking about this the whole game. I've kept the pressure up, and just as a final note on continuing pressure, in one of the games where I was losing, the enemy took a crucial inner tower after killing us, almost acing us I think, and then they fell back through their jungles and went back to base. It wasn't really time to do Baron or anything like that. Nevertheless, I was thinking straight up, okay, well I lost my red buff, I lost my raptors, I probably lost my Krugs as well. They just cleared off my jungle as they went back to base. Nevertheless, I walked back into the jungle to get some wards down for the next time we would have a fight, and guess what? Everything was still up. That's absolutely huge. I was actually really surprised. I thought they would have taken it 100%. Remember, when you take an inhib, when you take a tower, when you win a team fight, and you're gonna fall back through their jungle and go back to your own base, take their stuff before you leave, farm their camps. This is you as a jungler. You have the best way of doing that because of your jungle item and smite. The next thing I want to talk about is hiding your intent, disguising the plays that you want to make, using the body language of your champion correctly. And this is a big problem. This is why when people ask, what should I play to rank up and things like that, I suggest something, and most people suggest things that are a little bit more mechanically simple, because you don't want to be thinking about the mechanics of your champion while you're making plays, because it can become very obvious with what you're doing. Look at this example of the J4. Even though J4 isn't mechanically intense, it's very clear what they want to do. He's walking straight towards myself and the Caitlyn because he wants to do his EQ knockup and perhaps R. It's so easy to predict, and as soon as I see him go in, I E to the side and we melt him in 2 seconds. You cannot afford to make that decision. They could have easily still won this game. They had the right team comp to do it, and they had a few fair members that could have crushed us. But when you make brainless plays like this, when you just sort of go on automation mode, it gives too many things away. And what are some examples of this? Well, the most simple example that you would use all the time as Kindred is when you're going for a mark, you don't want to let the team know your direct intent. You have to have very intelligent body language as Kindred, because as we discussed in the last video, that mark is a giant red nose and the enemy team will collapse on you. So in this situation, you can see I rotate over and I walk over a pink ward. I'm looking at the bush, I walk over the ward. I don't walk next to it like the Graves did earlier. And I kill it, but instead of killing it while walking towards where the mark is at the Krugs, I kill it while walking back towards the river, and I even over accentuate it a bit just in case there's a little bit of residual vision left from the ward that can show which direction I'm heading. This causes the Yasuo, who I knew was in the area, to continually go up to mid because he doesn't think I'm gonna go to the Krugs. Well, I go ahead and I take my mark and off I go. Free. You can also see how this works when you use it in a gank. In this example, instead of going with my Q in the direction where I'm facing, which is what they think I'm gonna do, I actually at the last second turn and hit the Sivir, which forces her to flash, but she flashes against the wall, so I can hit her with the E and that's a free kill. Disguising your intent is one of the most important things you can do as a jungler and as a player in general in the lower brackets, because you want to make everything you do a surprise to them. That allows you to have those mechanical outplays. And on that note, using your actives, your positioning, and thinking about what the enemy is going to do in a duel, as well as what you need to do in a duel to win it, is imperative to mechanical outplays. And these mechanical outplays are things that define a lot of events in lower ranked games. I use my QSS and flash to get out of a really bad situation. I use my Zhonya's and my positioning to move around the minions and avoid the passive Scion damage. And then I know where Ahri went, so I use my W to blind hit her in the bush. Ahri wasn't so much thinking about what Kai'Sa can do, she's just thinking, I'm Ahri, how can I kill Kai'Sa? You have to anticipate what the enemy's gonna do and what you're gonna do, and this stems from your knowledge of matchups. And simply put, that comes from experience. If you're a lower ranked player and maybe you haven't played too many ranked games this year or in total in your life, experience helps with mechanical outplays. Understanding your champion's full ability so you can disguise your intent, and then also understanding the enemy's abilities so you can play around them to outsmart them and outbeat them in 1v1 or teamfight situations is imperative if you want to rank up. There's real goal gains to be had by surviving situations that are really bad. Like in this 1v3 example, even though I completely misplayed because I wasn't really thinking too much about what I was doing, I'm still able to recover the situation and outsmart the enemy just by using my positioning to move around in a way that lets me win the fight 1v3 and get the triple kill. They didn't think about what I could do, they were just focused on where I was instead of where I could be as Kai'Sa. And this pressure release that I got in the mid lane actually allowed us to grab objectives, and that swung the game in our favor, and eventually we did win. So just as a final note about matchups, mechanical outplays, things like that, it's risk assessment. Understanding which member on each team is fed, who is stronger than other people at certain points of the game, what are the levels on each player. In this 2v2 example with myself, Lulu, Graves, and Fizz, well, I'm 301, I have the completed Blood Razor. Graves really shouldn't have engaged me in this fight, and Fizz, after missing his ult, should have left. They weren't really focused on the same target either. They were just trying to fight, skirmish around a little bit. Had Fizz originally tried to hit his ult on me, they might have actually picked up a kill in the 2v1 situation. It would have been a 1-for-1. Risk assessment is very, very important when you do skirmishes and when you pick fights, because it's not always gun-ho. A lot of reasons why you can get fed as an experienced jungler in the lower ranked brackets is because laners don't have risk assessment. They just continually fighting, they're pushing up a lot, or if they're being pushed in, they're not thinking too much about gold amounts, jungler pressure, things like that. So you can always trust someone's gonna fight when they shouldn't, and that's how you really snowball a game. And finally, I want to talk about the things that actually lets you win games, and that's because of people's inability to split push properly, compounded by the fact that they refuse to group when they have a team-based lead, means that you can capitalize on the chaos, and that's what you really have to do. In this game that I was talking about earlier where I picked up the triple kill, we were losing. We only won because they refused to group, they kept split pushing and pushing towers at different times. And what did I do as Kaiser? Well, every time one showed, I rotated over, killed him, farmed my jungle, rotated over, killed him, farmed my jungle, got myself really, really big, and then when I was able to 1v3, 1v4 very, very easily. And by doing this and giving your team assists and you getting objectives off the back of these kills, well, your team also gets fed, and that means you can clean up nicely. And on that note, when you are split pushing, a lot of people would be so focused on the objective. Now, a lot of people are not focused enough on the objective, and some people are focused too much on the objective. Don't push beyond vision lines. Don't push when your team is left. Don't push when you know the enemy team is up. I'm dead in here after I get caught out and I have a misplay in the mid lane, and I see my Annie's just pushing bot lane. So if you ever find yourself as a jungler in this situation, pay attention to the team's death spawn timers, pay attention to the vision. In this situation here is Kaiser, we're not going to be able to defend. I push up as far as the vision will give me, I leave the back 3 minions up so it can slow push, and I leave. Guess what? A few seconds later, the Yasuo who has TP shows up. It's a perfect example of timing your pushes correctly. The main thing is, when enemy teams refuse to group, you can rotate, pick up kills, get skirmishes, get towers from the back end, and also use that to get yourself really, really fed. And if you're on a champion that can do mechanical outplays and you can teamfight correctly, you're gonna pick up a lot more wins than if you just complained or, you know, gave up. Don't lose sight of objectives though. A lot of people, they would get leads, they get kills, and they don't focus on towers or rift heralds. There's a lot of waffling in the end game, I noticed. You know, you get a few towers and okay, now what do we do? Well, you have to group and take barons, take dragons, take towers. If they're not doing that, and you're the fed one, you can take matters into your own hands. Even when you have a gank in the early game, if you see the enemy grouping down to perhaps take a dragon, don't leave your top laner, take towers. In this situation with Yorick, I know Yorick's a great split pusher, and I'm Kaiser and I can take towers quickly, so we take 2 towers for 1 mountain drake. That's worth for me. So I hope a lot of these things help you understand a few of the mistakes that might be happening. Maybe you're making some of them, not all of them, and a few little tips about how you can improve and think about these situations in your future games. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, comment, share if you enjoyed this. Share it with your friends. If anyone's trying to get gold for the end of the season, leave a comment down below if you'd like to see another video just like this one, focusing on a few more lower MMR mistakes. Please subscribe for more jungle videos coming soon, and as always, I will see you all in the next tutorial.